Evening vinyl community, or well, yeah, I guess it is. It's the evening here in the UK anyway. It's Rob back for another video. Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. This is a fairly quick one, just a bit of a vinyl finds, some records that I actually picked up last week, but I didn't get around to showing. There's a few, and there's just one that I picked up today on my trip into my local town in Solihull, and there was an Oxfam shop and I picked up a record from there. So yeah, so I'm going to be showing those in a moment. Just wanted to do a quick shout out to Richard McCormick, who's just done a really interesting video on songs that was favourite songs that are over 10 minutes long, which I thought was an interesting theme for a video. You know, a lot of stuff out there that's sort of, you know, prog or you know, not necessarily jazz or classical, but you know, songs with vocals in that are you know, over 10 minutes in length. So he showed some really interesting stuff, and it sort of got me going. So I might actually jump on that at some stage, because I think that might be interesting. So yeah, anyway, so I'll crack on with these finds. So the first one I've got is an addition to my Francois Hardy collection. This is an album called Voila. So this is 1967 album, I believe, from her. I'm really into Francois Hardy. I've got a fair few of hers. Whenever I see them, I do buy them. It's on this Disc Vogue French label, and yeah, I mean, she's super lovely voice, beautiful lilting sort of 60s pop. Yeah, and that's not one that I've seen. In fact, I don't see Francois Hardy albums in the wild very often at all. So when I do see them, I'll pick them up. Fortunately, my local shop, which I featured in one of my previous videos, Ben, he puts these aside for me, usually when he gets them in. But obviously I think he keeps some for himself as well, because he likes her too. But yeah, so every now and again, as I say, I do get one of these, and I think I've got about half a dozen now, including the one Francois Hardy in English, which is kind of her songs sung in English, obviously, as the name suggests. That's quite a popular one, but apart from that, you don't often see a lot of others. So, but yeah, that's Francois Hardy. In addition to that, he actually threw this in as well, which is a single called, well, it's like an EP single. It's from 1963, I think, quite an early one. So there you go. And this has Tous les garçons et les filles, l'amour s'en va. Sorry, apologies for any French people out there with my dreadful pronunciation, but here we go. La tombe de l'amour and ton mille amis. Not exactly sure how that would translate, but superb stuff anyway. So, and yeah, it also came with this little Disc Vogue pamphlet, which makes me suggest, actually, makes me think that this was actually a later pressing of this single, because as you can see there on here, it's got West Coast Pop Art Experimental Band, which I believe would have been about 1966. So yeah, so this definitely must be a later pressing of the single. Perhaps, as I say, I don't, as I said in the previous video, I don't collect singles, so I'm not an authority or expert on 45s, but definitely very much appreciated to receive this anyway, and to add to my Francois Hardy collection. So fantastic. Okay, the next one is, I guess, a bit of an 80s classic. This is Cupid and Psyche by Scritti Politti. Now, I had a 12-inch of a couple of these singles on this album, which were Absolute and The Word Girl. And I think Would Be's Pray Like Aretha Franklin was the other big hit off this as well. But I'd never heard this album, and the reason I bought it, because I'm not a huge fan of 80s pop, generally speaking, but this is actually featured in this album here, which is 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. And I've had this book for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's a great guide. It goes, I think it starts, it's been obviously updated several times, but it starts from 1955 with Frank Sinatra in the Wee Small Hours, and I think this version of it goes through to 2013 with The Next Day, David Bowie. So, you know, huge, you know, obviously across the spectrum through the years, pop, obviously all the essential years, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But yeah, there's pictures of all the albums in there, and then there's who did the art direction. There's all the tracks for most of the entries. There's who obviously the credits as well, the length of the tracks, and then there's a write-up obviously by different journalists who obviously have compiled and contributed to this. And it's really, really interesting. It's not a definitive guide, of course, but for me, who is somebody who's always looking for something else and trying to look for sort of quality music to buy, sometimes, you know, I don't see stuff on the VC or through friends. You know, this is quite a good guide. I mean, to be honest, they don't always get it right, but most of the albums, I mean, I actually went through this the other week, and I thought I'll take an inventory of how many albums I've got in my collection that actually appear in this book. And I haven't actually got through it yet, but it's already, you know, well over 100. But yeah, I mean, there's some in here that I don't agree with, that I've streamed, I've listened to, and I don't get it. But for the most part, you know, they're pretty much on the money. So, you know, I don't know whether this is sort of speaking for the majority, but, you know, it is a very good guide, and very useful if, you know, for those who, you know, dipping their toes in, want to find out albums that are, you know, generally quite highly rated, but maybe have not heard, and quite useful from that point of view. So, yeah, I just thought I'd show that anyway. So, okay. Third one is this one, which is a reissue of, this is Ella Fitzgerald Sings the Irving Berlin Songbook. Now I've got the other two Ella albums, which were for Cole Porter, the Cole Porter Songbook, which were albums that my mum and dad had, that I used to listen to when I was younger, and I really, really enjoyed. Loved a lot of those songs, like Love for Sale and Every Time We Say Goodbye, and so on. But these are, yeah, I mean, you can just see from the track listing here, there's just absolutely just classics in here. And this is a double album. This is on Verve. I think it is a reissue. I think originally this came out in 1958, but I think this is a early 70s repress. But it's in mint condition. It really is. Virtually no spindleware at all. And it was 10 quid, you know, for a double album with you know, what we got, 32 songs on it. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good value. So yeah, I like Ella Fitzgerald, and you know, I'll enjoy listening to that. So yeah, I was pleased to pick that up. Okay, now the last one is a bit of a strange one. I was in Solihull today, which is because I was over visiting my mum, and I went into the town centre, and they have an Oxfam shop there. And the problem with charity shops in the UK is that, particularly Oxfam, or that one in particular, a local one, the guy in there is a real expert on music, and he you know, he looks up the book prices, Discogs prices, and he prices them accordingly. So you can't really get any bargains. So everything is, you know, unless it's, you know, I don't know, Mantovani or sort of you know, kiddies records or whatever, you know, that, you know, everything is sort of £5 upwards. But I found this, which was a complete blind buy, and this is Peter Yarrow, and this is called That's Enough for Me. There's the album and the gatefold. Got the lyrics and stuff in there. Okay, now I've never heard this. This was a complete blind buy, but you know, you often look at the credits on the back, and there's some covers on here, like The Harder They Come by Jimmy Cliff, and in fact there's actually one or two songs on here where Toots and the Maytals are playing. I thought that was interesting. And then there's a first track which is called Groundhog, which was produced and written by Paul Simon. So yeah, it's Paul Butterfield Blues Band, he's playing on here. Yeah, I mean, some decent session musicians and so on, and you know, it looked interesting. So you know, rather than me going home and streaming it and then coming back and, you know, the album would have gone, I just thought, well, it was £5, what the hell, I'll give it a go. So hopefully this is all right. If anybody can comment in it, you know, or knows this album, I'll be interested to know a bit more about it. Feel free to comment, obviously, but yeah, so I mean, I quite like the cover. The artwork there, very 70s. The cat on the back there. So yeah, hopefully that will be interesting. So yeah, that's Peter Yarrow, and that's enough for me. Okay, so that's my finds. As I said, quite a quick video. We're under 15 minutes. That's great. Anyway, I hope you're all having a great weekend, guys. Cheers, by the way. I'm on the old. You've seen this before, haven't you? The old Hop House. You know, can't resist. It's the weekend. I'm not driving the car, so what the hell. But have a great time, guys, whatever you're up to, and yeah, I hope to upload another video really soon. So all the best. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.